A new report in the US has found China meddled more in the 2022 midterm election than in the 2020 presidential election because it didn't think the Biden administration would respond harshly. I mean, it says it all really, doesn't it? I mean, remember all that nonsense about the Democrats? They peddled all this stuff about Trump colluding with Russia to interfere in the 2016 election. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller, of course, found no evidence of that. But with Sleepy Joe in the chair, China clearly feels free to do what it wants. And this report, which has now been declassified by the US National Intelligence Council, said, quote, PRC influence actors had more freedom to operate ahead of the midterms than the presidential election in 2020, probably because PRC officials believed that Beijing was under less scrutiny during the midterms and because they did not expect the current administration to retaliate as severely as they feared in 2020. Well, joining me now from the US is commentator Cara Kennedy. You can read her in the Daily Mail and elsewhere. Cara, welcome. I believe you're actually on your honeymoon at the moment, so thank you so much for joining me. Are you surprised by all of this?
Absolutely not, Caleb. I don't think anybody is. I mean, this report is damning, but I don't think there'll be any comment on it from Joe Biden, seeing as it's basically labelled him a very weak leader. I think what it's shown is that, like you said, as long as Biden's in office, China knows that they can do exactly what they want. The report claims different things, like they sought out members of Congress to punish for their anti-China views and even do things like covertly denigrate US senators online using fake accounts. But there's other stuff coming out of China. I mean, just today, there's been a lot of talk about the House about China funding anti-fossil fuel groups in the US to make the country dependent on Chinese manufacturing. And a lot of Republicans are quick to mention that Biden's former climate advisor is involved. So I think it's proof that China is not scared of this government in any way, and definitely not as much as they were of previous ones.
No, I'll tell you, they're certainly not scared of our government in Australia either. I don't know whether you saw the recent visit that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese took to China, but the main thing we gleaned from it was that they discussed whether or not pandas and Tasmanian devils were cute. So we know that they're onto the big stuff. Just sticking with the US, two parents in Michigan have filed a lawsuit against a school after they discovered that their daughter's middle school was allegedly socially transitioning her without their knowledge. So basically the girl was going to school, was being referred to by different pronouns, etc. And the parents only apparently found this out because a document was sent home with, you know, he, him on it instead of she, her. They'd actually been scrubbing this stuff allegedly from documents, so the parents didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, Caleb, this is not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last, but this story really shows how educational institutions are not only encouraging children to transition, as we've seen in many cases, but also to go out of their way to conceal this very serious thing from parents. In this case, the parents learned of their daughter's social transition, whatever that is, due to a mistake in a letter sent home by a school psychologist. So basically in the letter, they had made an effort to conceal this by changing the pronouns from he, him back to she, her. But one reference, they forgot to change back. So if the parents had checked, if the people who had sent it had checked it, if the school had checked it better, the parents probably still wouldn't know. And then the guidance for Michigan school districts on LGBTQ students states that the disclosures are only made to parents on a case-by-case basis, so they investigate each case. And I mean, well, this little girl is autistic, and seeing a school psychologist, I think, is a pretty good case to be transparent with the parents.
I mean, if parents don't know what's going on, it would seem a total abrogation of responsibility. But this is the thing. I mean, you've had court cases, this isn't the only one, running in the US and elsewhere now basically arguing that schools and other entities should be able to usurp the power of the parents. I mean, once you can take the kids away from the parents and do what you want with them, you end up in a very dodgy situation. Now, you've been living in the US for a little while now. What are you experiencing, seeing with the migration crisis over there? I mean, every day there seems to be another story. I see the southern border has had its highest single-day total ever recorded of illegal migrants passing through. And in Massachusetts now, they're poised to spend close to $1 billion on emergency shelters because of migrants.
Yeah, people are angry. What we're seeing, not just in the US, but in the UK too, is such an acute need for housing, which exacerbates this entire thing. Not just for US and UK citizens, but also, like you said, for the hundreds of thousands of people crossing the borders into the country each year. And this is obviously causing resentment. It's inevitable from the local people of the towns and cities that this is happening in. Local people who work hard can't peacefully live in their own towns. Look at New York, Chicago, London. There's such a high homeless population in these places that they're turning into their own neighborhoods, tent cities. And then on the other side, you have people who have been promised a new life, a new opportunity, whether it's America or the UK or different places. They end up on the streets or being squashed into temporary housing that is costing billions and billions from the government so they can be processed. I mean, it's a horrible situation for everybody. And I think that it's time for the US and the UK and other places around the world to rethink immigration strategy and try to not be the nice guys all the time. But that's easier said than done, I guess.
Well, the rest of us are living in a cost of living crisis too, but you wouldn't know it with the money they're spending on these people. Now, just to finish up, I want to ask about the royals. Meghan Markle has made her return to acting, can you believe it? She starred as a background extra in I've got to say, it's a pretty bizarre Instagram advert for a coffee company, that she holds shares in. Here's the ad. See if you can spot her.
I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing Clevr team here at HQ. Without them, we are nothing. Our fulfillment crew, lovingly packing your lattes. They've been listening to Britney on loop since 2019. Our very smart, only slightly nerdy digital team, making sure the website doesn't crash again like it did last year. Finally, the glue that literally holds us all together. Our incredible, resilient fulfillment team that have helped make 2023 such a big success.
So she was packing the boxes, then she's working on the computer, and then we get that failed fist bump at the end. My God.
Yeah, this is absolutely bizarre. I mean, it always is when it comes to Meghan and Harry, which is cool to say. But I was actually just in Montecito. You mentioned that I'm on my honeymoon and we're driving up Pacific Coast Highway, and we stopped in Montecito, and it's just such a wonderful place that they could live a very happy, normal life, but instead they have to be very weird. But this is a company that we know Meghan Markle has been involved in since December 2020, so a few months after her and Harry left the royal family. We know that she's invested an undisclosed sum. And it's a company that has a range of lattes that come in powder form, which sounds absolutely horrible, to be honest.
Wonderful.
But
yeah.
But yeah, Meghan's definitely on the offensive when it comes to PR lately. We saw her in this very bizarre video trying to look like the average Joe. The problem is that whenever she and Harry try and look normal, they end up looking desperately odd. And then the other place that we've seen her in the past few weeks is her and Harry's Christmas card video. They traditionally do a picture, but this one was a video. At the top of it, it was from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Of course, they had to get that in. So yeah, she's definitely popped up lately after a quiet few months, but I don't know if it's doing her any good.
I don't think anything she does herself much good, to be perfectly honest. Cara Kennedy, thank you so much for your time. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.